What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so shout out to the brother Ticket TV who did a very good video. I think it was either yesterday or it was Monday, talking about the scumbag that is Bill Clinton. And this is the thing about my platform. This is the thing about Ticket's platform and some of the other brothers out there. We don't pick sides when we're talking about these guys. Now, it may appear like I'm railing against Trump, aka the Republicans, right now because he's in office. Just like when Joe Biden was president, I was primarily talking about him and the Democrats because they were in power, at least in the executive branch. I talk about one president at a time, but I want to reiterate here that I don't choose a side here. I'm very bipartisan when it comes to dishing out the dirt and talking shit about these clowns. All of them are dirty. Democrats and Republicans. They're all on that list, the Epstein list, both sides. That's why Joe Biden didn't release it, because this guy, among other Democrats, are on that damn list, Bill Clinton. And by the way, when it comes to sheer criminality, Bill Clinton makes Donald Trump look like a choir boy. And that's why I have so much enmity in my heart for the mainstream media, because they don't keep the same energy when it comes to this guy right here. They will have you thinking that Bill Clinton was God's gift to politics. Now, don't get me wrong. He is one of the most gifted political operators, Bill Clinton, in his prime now. He was one of the most gifted political operators in the history of this country. I would rank him up there with Abraham Lincoln, Theodore Roosevelt, Franklin D. Roosevelt, and Lyndon Johnson as far as political operators. He was up there. But I could see through the bullshit. He was made for television. Boyish good looks. He had the Southern drawl, which sort of made him non-patrician and non-elitist. At least he didn't sound like an elitist. You know, most elitists had that Harvard accent or that Yankee twang. He didn't have that. He sounded like a good old Southern boy. And he knew how to put that on when he was talking among that's why they called him Bubba. But beneath the all shucks and all of that stuff, he was a very intelligent man, and he was a skilled political operator. But he was also a predator. And in this particular video, I'm just going to talk about the allegations against this guy when it pertains to women. Now, I'm just talking about the alleged incidences that he's had with women. This stuff has been documented. Now, I could talk about a lot of other things. For instance, the money laundering, selling prisoners' blood, which was tainted with HIV and STDs, other STDs, and outsourcing it to other countries and states and within the United States for profit. His cronies were doing that. People under him. I could talk about the him being involved with international drug rings. You know what I'm saying? I could talk about, and that's how the Clintons got a lot of their money, insider trading. And I could talk about, although some of these things I can't prove definitively, I could talk about some of the unalivings that he's almost certainly tied to, and some of the other, weird things that happened even during his presidency, AKA Vince Foster, Ron Brown, but I'm going to stick to the allegations that this guy is the biggest predator of women, and that includes Trump, that we've seen. Number one, Juanita Broaddrick. was an Arkansas nursing home operator. And she told at the time NBC's Lisa Myers that she was raped by Clinton. At the time, NBC shelved the interview because of obvious reasons. They finally aired the interview some years ago, right? Broderick finally told her story to the Wall Street Journal, which published her account of the brutal rape at the hands of the future president, followed by the Washington Post and some other publications. But Capitol Hill Blue has confirmed that Broderick's story is only one account of many attempted and actual sexual assaults by Clinton that go back 30 years. Among the other incidences, Eileen Wellstone, 19-year-old English woman who said Clinton assaulted her after she met him at a pub near the Oxford, where the future president was a student, back in 1969. Clinton would have been around 22, 23 years of age at the time. A retired State Department employee who asked not to be identified confirmed that he spoke with the family of the girl and filed a report with his superiors. Clinton admitted having sex with the girl, but claimed it was consensual. The victim's family declined to pursue the case, obviously because they found out who even at that young age, Clinton had juice. And the same dude that used that juice to be avoided drafted in the Vietnam War. In 1972, a 22-year-old woman told campus police at Yale University that she was sexually assaulted by Clinton, a law student at the college. No charges were filed, but retired campus policemen contacted by Capitol Hill Blue confirmed the incident. The woman, tracked down by Capitol Hill Blue some years ago, confirmed the incident but declined to discuss it further and would not give permission to use her name. In 1974, a female student at the University of Arkansas complained that then law school instructor Bill Clinton tried to prevent her from leaving his office during a conference. She said he groped her and forced his hand inside her blouse. She complained to her faculty advisor, who confronted Clinton, but Clinton claimed the student, quote, came on to him. The student left the school shortly after the incident. Reached at her home in Texas, the former student confirmed the incident, but declined to go on the record with her account. Several former students at the university have confirmed the incident in confidential interviews and said there were other reports of Clinton attempting to force himself on female students. Juanita Broderick, who I referenced earlier, a volunteer in Clinton's gubernatorial campaign, said he raped her in 1978. Mrs. Broderick suffered a bruised and torn lip, which she said she suffered when Clinton bit her during the rape. 1977 and 1980, during Clinton's first term as governor of Arkansas. Back in those days, Arkansas governors served for 2 terms. I think that was changed during the 1980s, latter part of the 1980s, when Clinton served, I think, 5 terms as governor of Arkansas. But anyway, during that time period, state troopers assigned to protect the governor were aware of at least 7 complaints from women who said Clinton forced or attempted to force himself on them sexually. One retired state trooper said in an interview that the common joke among those assigned to protect Clinton was, "Who's next?" One former state trooper said other troopers would often escort women to the governor's hotel room after political events, often more than one an evening. Carolyn Moffitt, a legal secretary in Little Rock in 1979, says she met then Governor Clinton at a political fundraiser and shortly thereafter received an invitation to meet the governor in his hotel room. Quote, "I was escorted there by a state trooper. When I went in, he was sitting on a couch wearing only an undershirt. He pointed at his penis and told me to suck it. I told him I didn't even do that for my boyfriend, and he got mad, grabbed my head and shoved it into his lap. I pulled away from him and ran out of the room." Elizabeth Ward, the Miss Arkansas, who won the Miss America crown in 1982, told friends she was forced by Clinton to have sex with him shortly after she won her state crown. Last year, Ward, who is now married with the last name of Grayson from her first marriage, told an interviewer she did have sex with Clinton, but said it was consensual. Close friends of Ward, however, said that she still maintains privately that Clinton forced himself on her. Now, you may notice something. Unlike some of these other situations involving entertainers where people are jumping at the bit to make claims and the angle is always monetary gain, you notice how these women are very, very reluctant to come out. So that's the sign of true power. These women are scared. They either don't want to be known, they don't make their claims public, or they fear literally for their lives. That's the real power. That's why that list will never come out. The Epstein list will never see the light of day. Bill Clinton will never spend a day in prison, nor will Donald Trump spend a day in prison. And this is what George Carlin was talking about when he said, they're all in a big club and we ain't in it. These are the people that decide. These are the people that make global decisions. These are the people that sit, on the Bilderberg group. These are the people that are members of the Council of Seven. These are the people that really run the world, not rappers, not actors. These are the people that make the decisions that truly count. Paula Corbin, an Arkansas state worker, filed a harassment case against Clinton after an encounter in a Little Rock hotel room where the then governor exposed himself and demanded oral sex. Clinton settled the case with Jones recently with an $850,000 cash payment. Sandra Allen James, a former D.C. political fundraiser, says presidential candidate to be Clinton invited her to his hotel room during a political trip to the nation's capital in 1991, pinned her against the wall, and stuck his hand up her dress. She says she screamed loud enough for the Arkansas state trooper stationed outside the hotel suite to bang on the door and ask if everything was all right, at which point Clinton released her and she fled the room. When she reported the incident to her boss, he advised her to keep her mouth shut if she wanted to keep working. Ms. James has since married and left Washington. Reached at her home some years ago, the former Miss James said she later learned that other women suffered the same fate at Clinton's hands when he was in Washington during his presidential run. Christy Zurcher, a flight attendant on Clinton's leased campaign plane in 1992, says presidential candidate Clinton exposed himself to her, grabbed her breasts, and made explicit remarks about oral sex. A video shot on board the plane by ABC News shows an obviously inebriated Clinton with his hand between another young flight attendant's legs. Zurcher said later in the interview that White House attorney Bruce Lindsay tried to pressure her into not going public about the assault. Kathleen Wiley, a White House volunteer, reported that Clinton grabbed her, fondled her breasts, and pressed her hand against his genitals during an Oval Office meeting in November of 1993. Wiley, who told her story in a 60 Minutes interview, became a target of a White House-directed smear campaign after she went public. In an interview with Capitol Hill Blue, the retired State Department employee said he believed the story of Miss Wellstone, the young English woman I earlier said who claimed Clinton raped her in 1969. And afterwards, for a couple of years, because of the distractions of the White House and the pressures, because he had so many other scandals going on, Clinton suppressed a lot of his urges until, of course, we know the saga of Monica Lewinsky. So those were the assaults. We're not talking about the supposedly consensual relationships that he had. And then also, that didn't include the Paula Jones saga, which, was big news. When Clinton became president, she sued um, Bill Clinton for assault. And, there's a lot of other situations as well, man. This guy was off the chain, okay? And then there are other reports, other things that I can't prove and we can't prove, but there's some other things that supposedly happened while he was in the White House. Supposedly, I think at a dinner in 1995, he made out with Oprah Winfrey in front of people, in front of, I think it was at a table. He went to town with her, allegedly. But this guy, man, it's the absolute worst. Another thing that he supposedly did, and like I gotta say allegedly with this stuff. When he was governor of Arkansas, they would have parties, he and his brother Roger. And at these parties, remember this is the 1980s, they would have girls. And when I say girls, I mean often underage girls, some as young as allegedly 1-4. And yes, he engaged allegedly in activities with these individuals, right? Another thing that Bill Clinton did allegedly is that he would leave the governor's mansion under the pretense of going for a jog around 4 o'clock in the morning, right? When it's still dark. And in reality, he would jog to the seedy areas, the seedy parts of Little Rock, Arkansas. And he would engage in activities with prostitutes. One of these prostitutes was a black woman who allegedly who he had a child with. And I think you probably have seen this photo of this kid, or, when he was younger. I think he's in his 40s now. And when you look at him, he's a spitting image of Bill Clinton. He looks like a light-skinned version of Bill Clinton. It's almost certainly his kid, but he's never, obviously, for political reasons and other social reasons, he never claimed them. So yeah, man, this guy it's terrible, man. You're at the dustbin of moral decency. You're in the dustbin of moral decency when Richard Nixon says that you have no morals. And I'm gonna tell you another thing too. Hillary Clinton was an enabler of this behavior. The media try to make her out to be, a victim in this, but Hillary Clinton led the charge to harass these women, to keep them silent, to threaten them, because her career was more important than anything else. She knew that for her to reach her goal, she had to stay with Bill Clinton. So she tolerated the sexual affairs. She didn't like it. She privately argued with this guy about it, but she tolerated it because she knew that he was the key to her political success, for her career success. She was colder than Bill Clinton. She was worse than Bill Clinton. And one of the women, I think was one of the employees or former employees at the State House in Arkansas, she had a private investigator beat the hell out of her. I think they even left a skull on her porch as a threat to her. By the way, Bill Clinton was the way that he was more than likely, and I'm not trying to slander his mother, but his mother, Virginia Kelly, I think her name was, she passed away in early 1994. His mother was very promiscuous because Bill Clinton's father died in a car accident, I think something like 3 months before Bill Clinton was born. So I think Bill Clinton grew up with a stepfather, but his mother, Virginia Kelly, from what I've read, she was very promiscuous, right? And I think Bill Clinton grew up with that as a, with that activity around him. And that obviously rubbed off on him. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, just want to put this out there, man. We keep the same energy around here. Tell what you guys think.